I'm Jonathan Singer, Senior Director of Policy Programs here with the Boulder Chamber of Commerce. Thank you all for joining us for the Governor's Whistle Stop State of the State address here today. So before we do any introductions, I just want to pass on a special thanks to a lot of our Boulder Chamber team here today. So to Devin, Courtney, Laura Lee, Kathleen, Amy Maye, if you're here in the room right now, wave to the crowd here because we would not have this all set up without all of you. And special thanks to Darcy for being just one of our photographers here today. So make sure you get their good side. Also, by way of introductions, I just want to thank council members Benjamin Folkerts, Adams, and Marquis for joining us. So if you want to stand up and wave to the crowd as well, thank you for being here. This is state and federal government working together, unlike other places. And then also, I want to thank the team from Joe Negus's office. If you're here as well, thank you for joining us. They may still be finding parking. Oh, there they are. So thank you. Erica, always a pleasure. And last but not least, we do have our superintendent, Rob Anderson from Boulder Valley School District here as well. Farmer once reminded me that you could tell when a farmer's going out of business when he's eating his own seed corn. We are growing our own seed corn here in our education for our workforce and economy. So thank you, Dr. Anderson, for that. With that being said, we do have a wonderful event here put together today, and we are joined by our sponsor, Google, and former Representative Colin Larson, a colleague of mine, as we talk about growth in the workforce and the need to grow our workforce, considering we have more jobs than we do people who are currently unemployed. We're proud to partner with them, and I'm going to let former Representative Larson take it away.
Well, thank you, Jonathan. I'm glad that I don't have that title anymore. But anyway, so good morning, everyone. My name is Colin Larson. I am the Southwest Head of Government Affairs and Public Policy for Google here based in Colorado. And it's great to be here this morning, and I appreciate the opportunity to get to introduce our governor. So Governor Polis and his administration have embodied the entrepreneurial spirit, intellectual curiosity, and vision that have defined this region for decades and helped build Colorado's innovation economy into the dynamic and enviable force that it is today. As an accomplished business leader in his own right and a tireless advocate for higher quality education, the governor's been directly involved in nearly every component of the tech ecosystem. As a recovering member of Congress, Polis understands the levers of Washington and the interplay between state and federal policymaking. Working hand in hand with members of the Colorado congressional delegation, the governor was able to secure transformative investments, strengthening and accelerating our development of advanced technologies, punctuated by Colorado's federal designation as a tech hub in quantum information science, which is an area of particular interest to Google, so thank you for that. Governor Polis's leadership has further been recognized at a national level when he was elected chair of the National Governors Association and is advancing an initiative dedicated to improving educational outcomes for our nation's youth, which Google is also proud to be sponsoring. And finally, Governor Polis has been a champion for fixing the state's workforce imbalance, noting that job vacancies are abundant while many unemployed Coloradans lack the necessary skills to fill those positions. He's advocated for expanding apprenticeship programs to equip individuals of all ages, particularly students and young workers, with the skills needed for in-demand jobs. This is a goal shared by Google, and we have been delighted to partner with the Boulder Chamber on their workforce development programs to get more Coloradans the skills needed for jobs in the innovation economy. I think I speak for those of us gathered here today when I say I look forward to working with the governor in this year to achieve our shared goals of embracing big ideas and building an economy where all Coloradans can thrive. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome to the stage Governor Polis.
Thank you, Colin. Thank you to the Boulder Chamber, to, of course, my friend Matt Singer and the John Tare and so many others, as well as all of our elected officials that are here. We actually, Jonathan Singer and Matt Benjamin were down yesterday. I got to say hi to them in the Capitol on kind of a 3-hour tour. They thought they were going down there to testify. I think they were stuck there all day. But they did get to testify on behalf of the film tax credits, and those are moving along for the festival, which I'll talk to. This is my 7th State of the State address, and I gave it to the joint chambers of the legislature about a month ago now, almost a month ago today. And I am going around the state, and I give a regional version of that to Pueblo, Colorado Springs, wherever else I'm asked, and I'm excited to do it in my hometown of Boulder. I'm very proud of the progress we've made so far, but now's really the time to double down on making Colorado safer, more affordable, more livable, more sustainable. And we look forward to engaging across the state to get that done. Of course, I'm proud of the progress we've made, whether it was the significant reduction in property taxes, especially on the commercial side, to address what Gallagher had done for a couple decades, 3 income tax cuts. And we want to double down on the work to unlock prosperity and affordability and opportunity. Of course, here in Boulder and across our state, we're at a very high altitude. We rise above. It's part of who we are as Coloradans. The sun rays are stronger and brighter, and that highlights our leadership on everything from tech and innovation to arts and culture. We were so proud that last year we got to celebrate Colorado winning the coveted opportunity to establish America's Tech Hub for Quantum Technology right here in Colorado, including, of course, in Boulder, in partnership with the University of Colorado and Dr. Justin Schwartz and the team. That facility is already underway, and of course, a larger scale facility in Arvada as well, really to help solidify our leadership in a fast-growing sector. We, as business leaders, well that with hard work and innovation and collaboration, we can deliver real results. And to improve our standard of living and support good jobs for people and the training people need to access the good jobs, keeping communities cleaner and safer, increased access to housing that Coloradans can afford, close to job centers, close to business centers, with thoughtful transit planning to allow people to get where they want to go quicker and less expensively, less traffic and congestion, better air quality, more convenience, and lower cost for our residents. We've spent a number of years looking at how we can save people money, and obviously I'm also using my voice to speak out against federal tariffs that would cost Coloradans money. Not only, of course, consumers at the grocery store buying goods, but frankly, it would be a huge blow to manufacturing in Colorado and across the country. I was talking to Laura Lee as she was talking about stories from the medical device industry and how it would devastate them, but effectively, much of Colorado's manufacturing uses components, parts, or supplies from a global supply chain. And if those were tariffed, it would make it much more likely that companies would set up their manufacturing facilities overseas rather than here to avoid those tariffs as they manufacture for a global market. So above and beyond the fact that it's a sales tax on everyday items that's regressive, that hits people's purchasing power, it also would destroy jobs, hurt manufacturing, and of course hurt Colorado's hardworking farmers and ranchers as well. And we've been working hard to expand overseas markets for grown in Colorado, made in Colorado products and produce. Working with our Ag Commissioner, Kate Greenberg, we worked to open the Mexican domestic market to Colorado-grown potatoes from the San Luis Valley. During the stock show just a couple weeks ago, we were able to highlight a memorandum of understanding that we signed with the United Kingdom to advance business opportunities in research and technology and agriculture and manufacturing. And of course, I'm, as many of you are, glad to see the Canada and Mexico tariffs delayed, but 1 month isn't enough. Business needs predictability to drive investment. Nobody can live month to month knowing whether there's going to be a 25% tariff or not. And we are hopeful that there's a long-term solution that leads to better access for made in Colorado and grown in Colorado products. Of course, with our 2 largest trading partners, Canada and Mexico, but I would say everywhere, whether it's Europe, whether it's South America, we want to continue to build those relationships. When it comes to affordability, we know the high cost of housing is a big challenge, especially in the Boulder community. It's a challenge for families to live it's also a competitive disadvantage for businesses who want to attract and retain the people that they need to be able to expand and thrive in our state. And to foster a more successful ecosystem and make life here more affordable, we need more housing near job centers so workers can live close to job opportunities and businesses can fill the in-demand jobs they have to succeed. And this has been a big focus of our work the last few years, and I want to thank the Boulder City Council, Mayor Brockett, many others for, of course, recognizing in many ways Boulder facing some of the same challenges the rest of the state is challenging. As a different local dynamic in different areas. The high country and the mountains have a different dynamic, Boulder, but Denver itself, average home price $600,000. So this has become a detriment in many areas of our state, from Pueblo to Colorado Springs to Grand Junction to the high country to Boulder. And we look forward to continuing to partner with Boulder City Council and the state legislature around how we can unlock additional housing opportunities near job centers and in transit plan communities. For instance, we gave Coloradans more freedom to build accessory dwelling units on their property, expanding housing near transit, getting rid of parking requirements above and beyond what people need and want, making it easier to build housing that's inherently affordable. And in Colorado, we are saying yes to more housing, yes to unlocking prosperity, and yes to opportunity for every budget. We're looking to do that in a few key ways, working with the legislature this session, leaning into innovation to streamline the process for modular housing options. And this was a bill that passed committee yesterday. Prefabricated and modular housing can deliver high quality or even higher quality often than on-site construction faster and at lower cost, and empowering builders to be able to deliver quicker and easier with the benefits of the economies of scale. And we look forward to helping to provide a way to streamline the process for that. We're looking at empowering builders to build smart stair apartments or homes, reforming the construction defects law in our state that leads to apartments being built rather than condos. Of course, we like both. Rental apartments are needed, but we also want to make sure that there's more starter home inventory, even in Boulder, that people can get into for $250,000, $350,000. That's likely to be a small condo in Boulder, right? And so how do we empower those to be built? We see more apartments going up. We need them, but we need affordable rent. But we also need a way that people can build equity, build wealth, maybe someday afford one of those more expensive homes, and that starts very often with a condo, and we need to reform construction defects liability to be able to do that. I'm also excited about, we of course empowered now accessory dwelling units to be built. We also hope that in the future those can be subdivided and sold as a form of starter home where appropriate, if that's something that the homeowner wants to do. We've seen a major decline in condo construction. Just to put things in perspective, in 2008, condos were about 20% of new home starts, and they're now 3%. And so, again, we need to fix some of the pieces around that basically make it very difficult or expensive to get the wraparound insurance policies that are needed to deliver condos that people can afford. And we've called on the legislature to take action in this area. We've also seen in Colorado and in many areas of the country, and I'm sure many of you have experienced this as well, skyrocketing homeowners insurance rates. And that is largely a function of claims and risk because of climate change and a changing risk profile. The two main factors that contribute to that here are hail damage and fire. And so we do have strategies around both of those. For hail, how we can move towards more hail-proof roofs, especially in the eastern Front Range, where a lot of the claims are originated. And by the way, hail damage has driven up homeowners insurance more than fire. It's about 65% hail claims, about 35% fire. Around fire, it's largely about home level and community level risk reduction and mitigation. And we are engaged actively in doing that at the community level. We want to make sure the incentives are in place for homeowners to do that work as well, especially in the wildland-urban interface where the risk of fires is greater. We need to tackle the high cost of homeowners insurance. And make sure that homeowners have access to a competitive marketplace in this area. As we address some of these climate-induced costs, like skyrocketing homeowners insurance, we're also focused on giving Coloradans more options to get where they want to go, quickly, easier, lower cost. Transportation congestion isn't just annoying and wasteful and costly, it's also a leading source of pollution, of poor air quality. And by expanding public transit and rail options, we can save people time and money on their daily commutes or getting to events they value, improve air quality, and make it easier and faster for people to get to work or to shop and visit local businesses. We have won key federal funding in this area, a $90 million down payment for passenger rail expansion, already committed. We've secured a framework for the Moffett Tunnel lease to put us on track for mountain rail service as soon as next year. We've already expanded the Winter Park ski train. We expect that will come online very quickly. And of course, work with RTD to deliver on the promise of fast tracks and front range passenger rail with the northern front range piece, including Boulder, by 2028. These steps move us closer to our vision of a Colorado where you can step out of your door, choose from a variety of affordable, convenient, reliable ways to get where you want to go. Saves families money. A family of four might want one car instead of two, or a family might even use a ride share instead of having to go through the costs of ownership themselves. Our housing and transit goals really go hand in hand with our climate goals and our affordability goals. More and better and less expensive transit options, housing closer to job centers and transit hubs, saves money and means less pollution and less congestion. And there's a lot of work to get there, but we've took some of the initial steps. Our state has now moved from 44th to 22nd in transit funding with fees on oil and gas that we were able to broker an agreement between the environmental community and oil and gas industry last year to put those fundamental pieces in place. We know that keeping people and property safe is the key piece of the puzzle to make sure that communities can grow and thrive and people feel safe where they live. 3 years ago, we established the goal of making Colorado one of the 10 safest states, and Democrats and Republicans came together to pass common sense, data-driven public safety investments that crack down on crime and prevent it from happening in the first place. And we are on the right trajectory, but we really need to double down on this work to make Colorado safer. Property crime statewide is down 15%, and car thefts are down 26%, 24 over 23. And we need to take additional actions to continue to make sure that we're making Colorado safer, including the successful implementation of the Voter Pass Initiative Proposition 130, which will provide additional supplemental resources for at least the next several years to local law enforcement, police, and sheriff's offices. And with these kinds of data-driven, common sense investments that can reduce crime, and making sure that both law enforcement and community organizations that prevent crime before it occurs have the resources they need to protect our communities, we will keep people, property, businesses, and our community safer. Colin mentioned education and workforce, and that's a key part of what we need to do. We have more job openings than we have unemployed people, but there is a skills mismatch between those who are unemployed and the jobs that are open today, and we need to make sure we can address that. We've now made 2 free years of community college through an associate's degree free for families earning under $90,000 a year. And we need to make sure that we continue to offer the training for in-demand job skills in a way that makes sense. Through my work at the National Governors Association, it's about how we can better make sure that the outcomes we're getting in education are preparing kids for success, whether that's at a 2 or 4 year college experience or whether that's directly into the workforce. That means we need to make sure that, and Boulder Valley School District and others are doing some of this work. I'm visiting a St. Vrain school later today, really preparing kids in addition to a high school diploma with a skill or certificate or completion that allows apprenticeship that allows them to get a good job right out of high school if they're not going on to college. If they are going on to college, our interest is in making sure that they don't require remediation to succeed in college and that they will be able to graduate within 4 years or 3 years, not 5 years or 6 years. And we want to make sure that we can deliver a better value to the students of our state and the families of our state, which aligns with better value to the business community, making sure that we have the people to power the future success of Colorado with the skills and talents they need for both today's and tomorrow's job markets. This is one of the ways we're partnering with governors, Democratic and Republican, from states across the country to tackle these challenges. And no matter what happens in Washington, we are forging our path forward here. We will obviously work with anybody and everybody when it benefits Colorado. We won't be afraid to stand up for Colorado when we need to. And of course, on important issues like workforce and climate, we don't know exactly what to expect from the federal approach, but we do know that we have very bold and exciting plans here in our state. We welcome any assistance from the federal government, but we don't rely on that to chart our own destiny here in our state. As business and community leaders, your voices are very important to these conversations. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today, and I look forward to answering your questions. Thank you.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you, Governor, for taking the time to address so many of the questions that we already received from our audience. I'm going to prime the pump with just one question, and then I'm going to do my Oprah moment of handing out the mic here. Not Jerry Springer moment, Oprah moment. But so you talked about some of the complications that we're seeing now at the federal level, to put it in the mildest of terms. We have a huge reliance on funding our federal labs here. Laura Lee Hollinghorst reminded us of this just this morning, actually, as we were going over things. What is it that we can be doing as a chamber, through our state government, through our local officials that are here today, to ensure that we keep that pipeline going? Because it's not only supporting federal research, but our aerospace industry as well.
Yeah, obviously, as Colin said, I'm a recovering former member of Congress, but there's our current delegation, Representative Neguse, Senator Hickenlooper, Senator Bennett. If some of you live in other districts as well, Representative Pedersen and Representative Evans nearby, Representative DeGette. I think it's important that they know, first and foremost, the importance of the federal investments in science in our local economy. We don't know what to expect, right? The Secretary of Energy is from Colorado, which is a good thing. We hope that he values the work being done at NREL and other important institutions. Obviously, the science being done at NOAA and other areas is of critical importance to humanity, but also to our Colorado economy here. So it's important to make that case to federal legislators and to members of the administration in Washington.
All right, and last question for me, unless no one else here has a question, which I'd be shocked. But last question here for me. We're hearing about this in the news almost every day right now. We're seeing our workforce, our immigration workforce, literally running scared. And we, as employers here with the Boulder Chamber, are working to make sure that people know their rights. But what are some of the steps that the state of Colorado has taken to ensure that our workforce, including our immigrant workforce, is protected from this level of federal autocracy? Yeah, so you heard there were some federal enforcement operations just in the last few days. Those are not done in consultation with the state. They don't brief us on those. And again, we are always happy to help apprehend a criminal if there's a warrant. Our local police and sheriffs are ready to do that and step up. But we do want to make sure that we are not helping to go after law-abiding Coloradans who are an important part of our society and our culture, many of whom have been here for decades. We have strong laws in place to make sure that we're not doing that. All right, now let us go to the audience for a minute here. Any questions from the audience, just raise your hand and I'll be happy to. All right, we're going to go here then here, so.
Huh? Hi, Ned Rydell, Blue Canyon Technologies, Lafayette. We make satellites, so I'm going to ask a question not about the aerospace industry. I've also lived in Boulder for 33 years, came here for grad school. I could have sworn that Boulderites voted for and funded light rail to come to Boulder sometime back in 1996. So I'd like you to just speak on how we can. I thought I heard you say 2028. More information, please.
Yeah, the delivery date that it was due under Fast Tracks, I believe, was 2007, if I'm not mistaken. That was in the initiative that we passed. RTD has not delivered that. I've been, as a congressman, as governor, I've always been very critical, say, RTD, you're behind schedule. We need to, by the way, RTD is a construct of the state. We absolutely should, in some form, reconstitute them because they're not delivering on what they need to for our region. whether it's several transit agencies, whether it's a different one, but we need to do better. But rather than sort of blame, as governor, unlike Congress, I don't get to just like blame RTD. So we just got RTD and others in a room and said, we just got to do this. We got to deliver. And so there's a partnership between the Front Range Passenger Rail District, the Colorado Department of Transportation, and RTD that will deliver what is essentially the promise of Front Range Passenger Rail. It's not the exact route that was in the initiative for a number of reasons, but it's Denver to Boulder to Fort Collins. Actually, in a way, it's above and beyond because Fort Collins was not in the initiative, but it would be the northern part. The southern part is not as far along because of it doesn't have the same investment. RTD has a account that's been accumulating funds to deliver on fast tracks. That's part of the funding solution. So yeah, we're doing everything from station development. In fact, we have a bill. That's the last piece. We already got the funding mechanism in place from the state, partnering with RTD, which is a combination of part of that oil and gas deal that I mentioned, and also involves a fee on rental cars. So that funds rail. And then the final piece is the joint services agreement with RTD that needs to be reached. But there's no reason it shouldn't be able to be delivered for the northern Front Range. Probably for the whole piece, it might take another year or two for the Fort Collins piece, but at least Denver, Boulder, Longmont, the goal will be 2028.
All right. Next question.
Thank you. Following up on that question really quick, funding and starting to construct by 28, not available by 28, right?
No, available. I mean, this is using existing rail. Nobody's laying new rail. So this would be there's safety improvements that need to be made on the rail, and obviously Mountain Rail is even quicker. So we currently have the Winter Park Express. We increased its frequency to 6 days a week, but we expect by not this summer, but the following summer, you'll have access to as the Rocky Mountain National Park from the west, from Granby. So it'll be Winter Park, Granby, and then within 2 or 3 more years after that, on to Craig and Steamboat Springs.
Okay, thanks. Let me ask my question now, Governor, please. You cited some encouraging statistics around crime from the record high in 23 to a little bit of reduction off of that. That's great news. I'm a small business owner here. I'm impacted quite heavily by crime, my customers and such. We sat here and listened to the city attorney and the local judge here. Both of them cited an issue that they have lost the ability to detain offenders due to the criminal justice reform laws that were passed in 2019. There was something that was introduced last year that didn't pass. Would you support at least somewhat of a rollback of some of the PR reform from 2019 that would give a little bit more ability of our local law enforcement, in this case the city attorney, the district attorney, and judges to hold people if they need to be held?
Well, I'm not sure why they would have trouble holding people who are facing criminal charges. Obviously, there's a process in place where you can post bail. I don't think that's had any changes significant during my time as governor. So I'm not sure what the issue is. Is it a local change, or is it?
State level, 2019, there was a bill, you signed it, and what it's done is it's made it almost a complete. If you're brought in on any kind of, quote, minor offense, you're automatically released no matter what it is, no matter how many times you committed that minor offense. And in some cases, getting somebody introduced to the criminal justice system leads them towards reform. It was an effort to try to be equitable, to try to not discriminate against people who don't have means, but the result is everybody gets let out. And
well, most of those, I mean, I'm not sure what kind of minor, most of those things are going to be more municipal charges. I mean, if they're brought up on state charges, it's inherently going to be something more serious. Probably, we want to hold them. We don't want them to be out. So I'm happy to sign anything that if there's any issue with us holding them. Obviously, we have a large prison population. It costs money. That's the state side, right? Your county is separate. I know that there's an effort this year to try to strip municipalities and counties of the ability to hold people. I can certainly tell you I'm against that. But the state, if it's a state crime, we're very serious about that. I mean, most of them are prosecuted, under municipal code. If it's a state crime, that's usually a violent crime or something like that. We want to make sure they don't get out.
All right, we're going to kick it over to Devin now.
Governor Polis, thank you so much for being here today. I have a question about the paratransit legislation. Please address the paratransit bill and what that means for community members that need more accessibility to transportation.
Well, we're watching. There is a paratransit bill. I think that's the goal is to provide more transparency in service, improve fare collection technology, just to make sure that the fares are collected in a way that people with disabilities have access to that. So we will obviously be watching that bill as it goes through.
All right, now to one of our council members.
Hi, my name is Tina Marcos. I'm on Boulder City Council. Thank you for being here. I'm just curious if you have any thoughts about the legislation 1032 around creating a state agency helping with homelessness. And the interest from my perspective is just Boulder is playing a leading role in the regional solutions for homelessness, and I would always appreciate some state support and increased options to help us out.
Tina, I think if that's the bill I'm thinking of, it's not so much a state agency. It would allow for special districts around homelessness. So it would allow like Boulder to work with unincorporated or other cities in Boulder County, for an example, as one special district of a unified strategy on homelessness. Is that the bill you're thinking of, or is it a different one? If it's a different one, I'm not familiar with it. There's over 500 bills, so I might not be familiar with every one. There is a bill around special districts for homelessness between jurisdictions.
I don't think it is special districts, yeah.
A state agency, I don't, we only have 18 state agencies, and obviously our division of housing under DOLA is the point person on homelessness. Usually it's very much tied into the other work we do. I mean, homelessness is not something to be handled by itself. So we have a housing office, division of housing, and then we also have behavioral health administration. And I would say a lot of the work around homelessness is kind of the joint work of those two. It's about housing. You actually need places for people to live. And so we've been focused on affordability and get Proposition 123 grants and a number of different mechanisms through there. And then behavioral health administration focused on meeting the behavioral health needs of Coloradans. But happy to take a look at it, of course, if it's moving through.
All right, we're going to bounce to higher education now.
Hi, Lori Call from CU. What's the latest thinking on Sundance?
Oh, well, Charlene brought me back this jacket here. Where's Charlene? Oh, there you are. Thank you. And they had a great visit. A lot of our senior team went to Utah. We also are moving through the tax credit incentive bill, and again, thanks to Jonathan and Matt for coming yesterday, and that's expected to not be a problem and make it through. So, we feel we're the best place, right, Charlene? I mean, we're the place they should come, and we just have to bring it home here in the next few weeks. I think they're very likely to decide in March, is my understanding. Obviously, it could change, but we're doing everything we can to put together a great face for what will be an incredible boost for Colorado. I mean, of course, for Boulder culturally, but also just for the region economically. It couldn't come at a better time. Last 2 weeks of January, it's a great time for increased visitation to our state. It's right after the stock show. It'll benefit not only the Front Range, but many people will go skiing before or after. So we're very excited about this opportunity.
Yeah, you can clap for that. Yeah, it's absolutely. Our filmmaker is already clapping for it. I tell people we're in competition with Utah. We're still prettier than Utah, and I know Cincinnati.
That's right.
I could gladly put up our Pueblo chili against their version of chili any day of the week.
Hi, Rob Vissers. I'm CEO of Boulder Community Health, and wanted to thank you for the conversation. You didn't talk about healthcare, so first of all, I wanted to highlight and thank you for the efforts that you've made in healthcare. Your goal was to make it more accessible, affordable, and equitable, and I think we've made great progress together, and I think it's something we should applaud and appreciate. We expect a challenging year federally. A lot of the way they're going to shift the dollars for the tax cuts is expected to come out of Medicaid, which is going to impact the state significantly. A hospitals used to be protected from ICE raids. That's been lifted, and so we're concerned about members of our population being afraid to seek health care. We started an internationally recognized transgender care program last year that is now in jeopardy. So we face a significant challenge here, but we also face some financial challenges. And now that Pueblo has joined UC Health because they were financially having trouble with sustainability, Boulder Community Health is now the last independent health system along the Front Range. I think Estes Park is in conversations with UC Health. So my question is, I guess more broadly, how do we continue our efforts to make healthcare more equitable and affordable and hold accountable, insurance companies that are making record profits, but preserve the independent hospitals and the rurals like ours? For example, our profit last year was 0.8%, not atypical. And some of the legislation, although well-meaning, sometimes can disproportionately harm the smaller organizations like ours, forcing us to larger systems. So how do we work together, make it more affordable, but make sure we protect independent hospitals like ours that are very committed to the community, behavioral health, equitable, affordable care? Thank you.
It's one of the areas we're very closely watching what happens federally. The federal government is a huge funder of healthcare, Medicaid and Medicare being the two largest sources of funding. There are others. Medicaid being administered by the state, funded federally with some state funding, Medicare being entirely administered federally. But those are two payers that are probably, what are they, like 30, 40% of your payers are Medicare and Medicaid combined, something like that? You're majority
60
Medicare. A lot of older
62%
people
was the
older, I
answer.
guess. Yeah. And Medicare is a better payer than Medicaid, and Boulder's aging population. And obviously every provider is a different mix. So yeah, we're watching to see what happens on those. We don't affect those as much. We do administer Medicaid, but we don't really determine the size of the pie. We try to do it in an effective way. But what do we affect? Where we have the most impact, frankly, is on the margins, where people who don't have insurance through their large employer and maybe self-employed or a small company, and whether or not they choose to be insured through the exchange or not, which we're also worried about, of course, some of the subsidies in the exchange. But that's absolutely critical, because, nothing is worse than uncompensated care. Medicaid's better, Medicare is better than that, commercial's better than that for our providers. And obviously, if we get people from uncompensated, uninsured to the exchange, that is an enormous boost. And we've had some significant progress just in the last few months in getting additional people after nationally, of course, when the Medicaid expansion rolled off, there were a lot of people kind of in the lurch. And so those are the people that, when they do purchase health care on the exchange, the subsidies might cover 80, 90% of their costs. They just need to get it done. So we're focused on that. Do you participate in 340B? No, some hospitals do. We're excited about trying to expand that opportunity for low-cost drugs for folks. We're pursuing prescription drug importation. As you know, from Canada, we have an application with the Department of Human Services. Florida's was approved. We hope that ours is approved, and we hope that we can get at least some of the excess inventory from there. And, we're open to other ideas to reduce costs. This is, Americans are, forced to pay about twice the percentage of our GDP and your personal income on healthcare than any other industrialized nation, and we don't have better results. We're just in the middle of the pack, and we pay more. So, we're going to do what we can at the state level, but I agree, the underpinnings of this, and a big piece of it sounds like 62% of your payers are federal.
All right, question in the back here.
Governor Polis, Claire Pearson with Clifton Glass and Allen. Thank you for being here today. I had the opportunity of spending the morning at the state capitol about 2 weeks ago and met with Senator Kipp about some of the issues that the Colorado Society of CPAs is facing around licensure. That being that I constantly hear from a lot of our clients and even new clients that finding CPAs is difficult to find. One of the reasons being that the road to licensure is a difficult road, and that they have to, new people have to sign up for a 4-year graduate degree and then a year master's degree in order to be able to sit for the CPA exam. And so in watching what some of the other states are doing and some of our colleagues across the country, there's bills being proposed right now around a different pathway, being around maybe a 3-year college degree with 2 years of experience. Any thoughts on that, or anything that has come across your office regarding that pathway?
Is Senator Kipp running a bill on that, or?
Not yet. The Colorado Society is, in the process of kind of gathering information. We've had discussions with Senator Kipp, and just getting kind of.
And you're involved with the association?
I am, yeah.
That's great, because the opposition to those things usually comes from the association. So if you actually have people in the association that want to help, I think we can get it done. I mean, we push this in every area, occupational licensing reform, and usually the biggest opponents are from the association. But if it's led by you guys, it should sail through. I can't imagine anybody that would oppose it.
Thank you for your time.
All right, moving along the line here.
I would just say we've been very excited about the general direction of occupational licensing reform, basically removing barriers that were protective barriers to occupations that are not needed for the state role of ensuring, safety and competency, that were kind of added for protectionist reasons by different professions. So we've kind of systematically sought to take those apart in a process that when these come forward, including reciprocity with other states. We have additional automatic reciprocity for military spouses, as an example, that can practice their trade here for 4 years now if they're licensed by another state without having to go through an additional state requirements. So we've been trying to remove all those barriers, and we're super excited if there's the opportunity to do it for CPAs. That's great.
Good morning. My name is Jennifer Chavez, and I'm with Biomed Realty. We are the future home of the Quantum Incubator, and really the provider of mission-critical real estate for the life science quantum innovation ecosystem here in Colorado. I know the City Council here in Boulder has been very supportive of understanding the importance of the innovation ecosystem here in Boulder. But my question is really regarding some of the state initiatives surrounding green energy and electrification, decarb around the state. Some of these initiatives are impactful to the way that our tenants, Julie can attest to that, operate their businesses and have significant financial considerations to be able to retrofit the buildings from a decarb and energy perspective. So just curious on your thoughts in terms of meeting the green initiatives of the state, but also continuing to support the innovation ecosystem and the unique facility needs they have.
Well, I think what hopefully you're involved with the effort, but I think the legislative effort is to push back anything till 2030 on that instead of 2026. Is that what you're hearing?
We are still on track for the earlier date.
Yeah, so no, but I mean,
we were not
well, that's
aware
because
that
that's the
there's a
law.
pushback.
But I mean,
Yeah.
I think the effort to change the law would be to push that to 2030. Would be, I think, but it shouldn't generally impact any of the newer buildings. It's more older buildings, but I think they're pushing that for at least several years. Hopefully, is the goal. So
Perfect. I think that'd be
a good area for you to lobby on for sure with your legislators in the Boulder Chamber to lobby on. I think 2030 was what I heard. I mean, we're obviously open to whatever.
perfect. Thank you.
Hi, Governor Polis. Allison Billings with Impact on Education. We support the Boulder Valley Schools. And
one more thing on that one. And the point person on that is a Boulderite and a former mayor, Will Torr. So he's been helping to craft that legislation. So if you know Will, in your community, mention that to him too.
are you dodging questions on public education funding?
That's my specialty. I love public education.
I know you do. So I would love for you to talk to us about sort of changes to the funding formula and how that's going to impact us. Thanks.
So when I came in, we had what you might call a deficit in education funding. We called it the negative factor, but it was a delta between the voter approved levels, Amendment 23. I supported that. That was back in the year 2000. That set a constitutionally required level. And the actual level of funding. Which, again, we called the negative factor. We'd been working at reducing that for years. We were able to finally eliminate that. And then we talk about what comes next. What additional funding can we provide for schools? Because it was never about, it wasn't, the constitutionally required funding levels weren't based on adequacy. I mean, one can debate adequacy as much as one wants, but they were based on kind of what the funding levels were 19 years ago, I guess, at this point. No, whatever it was. So we achieved that. And so now we wanted to build a new way of directing funds to students on top of that, any additional funds, if you will, after the negative factors met. And so under the leadership of Speaker Julie McCluskey, who herself used to work for Summit School District and very thoughtful leader in this space, bipartisan. She worked with Senator Paul Lundeen, the leader of the Republicans, and our Boulder delegation supported this, and many did. We created a new additional school finance formula, which grows over time, that is more based on student need. So it includes heavier weight for factors like free and reduced lunch and English language learners, and additional funding in those areas. Not as a categorical, which is the way we used to do it. We're going to phase those out, but in the school finance formula itself. So that's what we are now hoping to be in the first year of implementing. There's always, it would be fully implemented across 6 years, originally 6, and then we thought it might have to be 7. We brought it back down to 6. And when completed, that'll be close to $1 billion of additional funding for our schools. And so this would be the, we're working on the second year of that now, because this year there was a small piece, but the second year will grow next year on the path to a 6-year implementation. So those are some of the changes going in. Obviously, education funding is our top priority. We put that in before we fill up the rest of the bucket, and we hope, and I think our overall proposal is about $150 million more for schools next year than this year with less students. So, yeah. Yeah, go ahead. No, Rob does. I would tend to think we probably have less at risk count than some other districts. You certainly have some that you'll get additional funding for, but a lot of the new funding is tied in with different risk factors. But I'm sure Rob's run what the new school finance act would look like fully implemented. Every district benefits. Every district will have more per student, and I'm sure Rob's run some numbers.
So before we get to our last question, I wanted to and do a brief thank you presentation to the governor as well from one of our exiting board members. I just wanted to express a special thanks to all the governor's staff that are here today, that got him here, and that have been working behind the scenes tirelessly on those 500 pieces of legislation, not to mention all the rulemaking that goes along with those. So just join me in thanking them for their work in helping.
And Jonathan, as you know, it's actually more than 500 because, right, they get the 5, but then inevitably there's another 100 that pop up. So I think there's over 600 pieces of legislation out there.
Shoot for the stars, land on the moon.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Governor Polis. My name is Perla Delgado, and I'm the Executive Director of the I Have a Dream Foundation. So it's a pleasure to be here and get to know a little bit about your vision and what's coming forth. However, I'm a little bit concerned about the immigration rates, the safety of our community. While you can't ensure 100% of the safety of undocumented immigrants, I'm curious what your vision is to protect those that are being profiled and getting picked up by ICE, quote unquote, accidentally. We have students who are fearing driving on our roads, parents who are fearing driving the streets, and accessing all of these amazing resources that you've talked about. And I'm curious to learn what your vision is to protect undocumented and documented individuals like myself who are being profiled every day in our cities and our state.
Well, certainly if there's any instance where you feel that that's the case with state or local officials, let us know, because that's against the law in Colorado. You also know that in a federalist system, we have no control or knowledge of what the federal government does here. So they didn't tell us when they came. I read the same articles you did with the news of them coming. This is why who we elect as a president is important, who we elect in Congress is important. The federal government has authority in this area that's independent of the state, but if you ever see any of those issues arising from state or local government officials, let me know, and certainly let your local officials know. I mean, you have several city council people here. If you've ever hear that Boulder official is making people uncomfortable regarding their documentation or singling them out, let them know. If it's a state official, let me know right away.
And I'll just comment briefly. The American Business Immigration Council has asked me to be the state lead on some of these things as it relates to protecting our workforce. And so we're very fortunate to be in Colorado, where even if you don't have documented status, you're still able to access driver's licenses and other major issues, but we still have a long ways to go. So in closing, before we do our presentation, I want to just remind people, I was looking at the preamble to our Constitution more often than I have been recently. And, the three big words in front, right, say, we the people. We the people. That is all of us, right? Not one group, not one person, not one CEO, or not one governor. It is all of us. We the people, to create a more perfect union, because we know that we are inherently imperfect. And so I want to thank the governor on so many of these tough issues that we're tackling: housing, immigration, quantum tech, workforce. All of these things don't get solved by themselves. We, the people, need to work on these issues together. So thank you, Governor. And I was going to throw in a Taylor Swift reference, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
And now I want to invite Amy, if you want to join us up here. Amy, we have a brief presentation to give you, Governor Polis. Joe, if you wouldn't mind grabbing. Amy has been a phenomenal leader here with Nothing But Cakes. Shakespeare once said, if music be the food of love, play on. Sometimes food is medicine too. So, Governor, thank you for joining us. As you can see, the beautiful Columbine there, the Colorado state flag. I don't know if it's gluten-free or not, but Amy, thank you so much. And Joe, if you want to join us in our lobby team, if you want to come on up here for a brief picture. I'll put the microphone down. All right, thank you so much. Thank you to our staff and our team. I didn't get a chance to thank everyone, but I see Erica and Kate in the back, Joe Havenchak as well. Thank you all so much. Lindsay as well in the back there. We couldn't do all this without just an amazing, wonderful team, and without all of you as well. And Joe, do you want to grab a? Okay, we're good. All right, with that, everyone enjoy. You get smaller versions, take-home version of the cake there. Please enjoy your time here, and with the Taylor Swift reference, I hope you come back and be here.